Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the month of October. Today, Patty and I have already enjoyed our annual Cub Scout Pack 50 Pancake Breakfast fundraiser. So if you have not had breakfast yet, please consider supporting our Cub Scouts with your hearty appetites. Many of them out there helping with the breakfast fundraiser today. I understand there's a tournament in Reno. So I guess that accounts for this 4 block of seat. I don't know. But this year, as most of you may know, Disneyland is celebrating its 60th anniversary. And this month, Sensei Grace and her husband Bill will be celebrating their 60th anniversary. All right, on the 16th. Congratulations. And the year that they married, I understand, I think the Otos also, Molly and Ted were married that same year. And they all went down to Disneyland the first year, the inaugural year, when it first opened. And I'm sure that there may be some folks who might be turning 60 this year and have an affinity for this special Disney year that's taking place. So anyway, this past summer, Patty and I squeezed in a 1-day trip to the happiest place on earth. I don't know why, but we went. And the last time we were there was actually, I think, over 20 years ago. And back then, there was no parking structure. There was no California experience. And Indiana Jones was the newest ride in the park. And from the moment we drove up and we saw that parking structure, we were overwhelmed with the change. And we thought, is this even the same place? And after a few hours there, I realized my legs too are 20 years older. And we really appreciated Calvin and Cheryl setting us up to have a leisurely and scrumptious lunch at the exclusive Club 33 right in the heart of Disneyland. So thank you, Calvin and Cheryl. Now my sister Janie and her husband Jimmy are here today somewhere. Where are you sitting? Oh, in the back. Okay. Anyway, I recall first going to Disneyland with our family. I think it was around 1958 or so. And one of the few original rides that's still operational, and still one of my all-time favorites, is Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I now understand that it's been really redone, and I wanted to ride every time I've gone. Well, every time, I used to go a lot when we lived in LA, but I'd always ride Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. But when I went to check it out, the line was so long, and my tired legs just didn't want to stand anymore. But I think all of our family, they know that this has been my favorite ride. So much so that our niece Marissa, when they went to Disney World earlier this year, she got me this T-shirt. Look at this. Look at that. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. It's pretty good. So when I was a child of 10, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride was just plain fun. But as an adult, and I think as a Buddhist, I've come to feel that Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is really a great analogy of life. Think about it. We head down the road of life, encountering unexpected twists and turns. We are surprised, we are entertained, and sometimes even fooled by the illusions that surround us. But the best part of the analogy is this. There is a steering wheel that does absolutely nothing. no matter which way we may turn or spin that wheel, trying to steer in the direction we may want to go, ultimately, what happens is really out of our control. I think in life, there is no doubt that we do make important decisions that help to shape the lives that we live. But as I look back on my life, even the mistakes I've made have been essential to my happiness. Looking back, more often than not, I've blundered into the most amazing circumstances, experiencing things I could never even possibly have planned, and meeting people whose fingerprints will forever remain on my life. And virtually everyone I know who's had the opportunity to meet people who've known me growing up in San Francisco have heard them say, I never thought that Bob would do this. I never thought he would study Buddhism, become a minister. And that makes perfect sense to me, because growing up, I never thought I would do this either. And it was never, ever my intent to become a minister. Even when I began to study Buddhism, it just started as a curiosity. And then it became a passionate quest. But my quest was not to become a minister. I was on a mission. My intent was nothing less than enlightenment itself. Really, I didn't realize it. But at that moment, I had slipped once again onto Mr. Toad's wild ride. Back in 1969, I met a young Reverend Ogui who was curiously charismatic. He introduced me to Katagiri Roshi of the Soto Zen school of Buddhism, and Katagiri Roshi initiated me in the practice of Zazen sitting meditation. Then in 1970, I met Rinpoche Trungpa of the Tibetan tradition, and he would have gatherings at an old warehouse on Shotwell Street in San Francisco. I would attend meditation retreats intent on attaining enlightenment. With great determination, I practiced meditation with focus and sincere reflection, and I began to actually feel that enlightenment was almost within my reach. I could almost taste it. I remember participating in a retreat with Sasaki Roshi that was hosted at the temple in San Luis Obispo. There would be 4 sesshin, 4 sitting meditations a day, lasted about an hour, with lectures and activities in between. And by that time, I remember feeling that, enlightenment is close. I was quietly confident I was close. Some of you have heard me share this story, but it's just so true and it's so good. On that first day of this retreat with Sasaki Roshi, I actually noticed there was a very attractive girl attending, but this only steeled my resolve. I was not there to meet pretty girls, I was there for enlightenment. So I made special effort to avoid her and to not engage in any conversation. I was there for enlightenment. So when the sesshin, the meditation sessions began, I threw myself into meditation with this great resolve. There is a person who walks around during the sesshin, in between, around where the meditators are sitting. This person is called the jikijitsu, and they carry a flat wooden stick, called a keisaku. And the jikijitsu walks softly and slowly around the meditators. And if the jikijitsu looks and sees you kind of slumping or unfocused, they'll turn to you with the keisakus between their palms, between their thumbs, and they will gassho. When the jikijitsu gassho's to you, have to gassho in return, and then you offer your shoulder, you lean forward, then bends down with the keisaku, and they go bam, and hit you right here hopefully on the muscle. If they hit you on the muscle, it feels good. If they hit the collarbone, doesn't feel good. Either way, it wakes you up. And then you have to turn the other way and you get hit on both sides. Then afterwards you have to gassho and say, thank you for hitting me. But as I mentioned, I was on a mission. So, when the jikijitsu walked by me, before they would gassho, I would gassho to the jikijitsu, saying, please, wake me up. And then I gassho, then you lean forward and bam, both sides. Yeah, I was really on a mission. But it was not long after maybe the first couple of sesshin meditations, to my surprise, that attractive girl, she approached me, and she introduced herself, and she said, I've been watching you, and your zazen, your meditation is really good. I recall feeling a little flustered at the time, and I was determined not to allow her to affect or distract me in any way. I would meditate with even more intensity. And when the next sesshin began, I settled into my zafu, my meditation cushion, and I even more focused with determination. Going to sit there, focus. And I realized that my determination, my steeled mind had turned to mush. And my sandcastle dream of selflessness, my sandcastle dream of selfless enlightenment was just crushed and washed away by the tsunami of my ego pride. And all I could think about was this. I could hear this wildly dancing happy voice of my ego in my head. And as I'm sitting there trying to focus, selfless, breathe, focus, reflect, and I'm thinking, hey, that cute girl, yeah, she's looking at you. And she said, your zazen, your meditation is really good. Hey. So, I remember leaving gassho, leaving the sesshin, going outside and laughing. And I think it was probably at that point I started to think, maybe I'm Jodo Shinshu. But, I thought I was steering my life towards enlightenment, but instead I found myself again on Mr. Toad's wild ride. And it has been a wild ride, full of unexpected twists and turns. And in 1984, the wild ride brought me here to the Sacramento Betsuing. And from the first year that I came here, it's been just a great experience. And I was thinking, there was one question that I would receive from time to time from that first year that I came. And, I had a question box. Then kids would put their questions in there. And I remember receiving this question, what is the job of a minister? What is the job of a minister? And in talking about this, thinking about this, I remember a story that Karen Adachi shared with me decades ago. She was here one evening, and she needed to get something from my office, so she got the key and she went in. And she was with her nephew, Kevin Nishimoto, Yvonne and Gary's oldest boy. At the time, Kevin must have been about maybe 7 years old. And Karen said that when she and Kevin went into my office, Kevin was looking around and he said, Auntie, whose office is this? And she said, it's Reverend Bob's office. And then Kevin said, what does Reverend Bob do for a living? And Karen said, he's our minister. This is what he does. And he said, you mean he gets paid for this? I thought he only works 1 day a week. Yeah. But, it made me think, what is the job of a minister? And I've come to feel that one description of being a minister is this. On the road of life, we have to stop from time to time and rest and refuel, get our bearings. And that's why we come to the temple. And the job of a minister is, in a way, like being a full-service attendant at a gas station. Most of the younger people here will have no clue what is a full service attendant at a gas station? But, long ago, back in the day, if you went to a gas station to get gas, you just sat in the car and rolled down the window and said, fill it up. Huh. And a full service attendant would come out and fill up your car and check under the hood, the oil, and make sure the belts aren't worn, and check the fluids in the car. But most importantly, they would clean and wipe our windshields and give us directions if we needed it. As we journey through the days of our lives, we should pull into our temples from time to time. And as we sit here in our hondo and listen to the Dharma, we recharge and refuel and get our bearings. Most importantly, hearing the Dharma washes the bugs and the muck off of the windshields so that we can continue down the road on our journey, seeing clearly things as they are. A friend of mine, Jim Nakatomi, who's Betty Nakatomi's late husband, Barbara's dad, he would say to me when he would come to service, "Hey, Reverend Bob, I'm here for my tune-up. And I love that. So know again that just as we have to refuel and keep our cars tuned up, we come here to listen to the Dharma and get our lives tuned up and our windshields cleaned so that we can see things as they are. When we can clearly see the reality of impermanence and interdependence, when our eyes open to the reality of constant change and oneness, we cannot help but begin to live with ever-growing gratitude. And this is, to me, the goal of Buddhism. Living with gratitude is a life of Nembutsu. And as I look back, my life truly has been, to me, Mr. Toad's wild and wonderful ride. And as I've journeyed down the road of my life, encountering unexpected twists and turns, I've been surprised and entertained and sometimes even fooled by the illusions that I've encountered. And although at times I felt that I was in the driver's seat, like the Disneyland ride, there is a steering wheel that was doing absolutely nothing. I wanted to, actually woke up this morning and I told Patty a little later, I don't think I want to talk about this today. But I didn't have time to repair anything else, so but it was a fun talk to prepare, thinking about the wild ride of my life. And I'd like to thank you all for coming today again, and to remember to try to support our Cub Scouts with their pancake breakfast. If you had breakfast, maybe you like breakfast for lunch. They have to-go boxes. So please join me in Gassho. On the road of life, we have to stop from time to time to rest and refuel and get our bearings. That's why we come to the temple. And the job of a minister is like being a full service attendant at a gas station. And as we sit here in our hondo and listen to the Dharma, we recharge and refuel, and most importantly, hearing the Dharma washes the bugs and the muck off of the windshield so we can continue on our journey, seeing clearly things as they are. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.